about real things across generations. Generational banter. Real talk about real things across generations. Generational banter.
Girl.
What's up, mommy?
What's good? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. I'm glad to hear that.
I said, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Okay.
I'm doing all right. It's a
good.
wonderful Saturday. The sun is in the sky. I'm feeling good.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, hi. I'm Nilaja. I am the one that came up with the idea to start a podcast. I was originally going to try and do it by myself, but then I did research on podcasts and I realized I hear that it flows better when you have a This is my I'm dead. Yeah, so it's me and then co. So yeah, I just really, because I am a person, I like to converse. I have always been a person that likes public speaking, especially. I know a lot of people can't do stuff like that, but for some reason.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
You like public speaking? You've always been the one speaking, okay? Because as long as I can remember, I've had teachers calling me in to tell me that Nilaja loves to talk in class. Go back to what you're saying.
But yes, I feel like that's how this gonna be interesting, because my mom is like weird. She's so freaking weird. But yeah, yeah, I just wanted to start this because I feel like this is gonna be a great step in my life, being able to talk freely about all types of topics.
Yeah. So I'm Damali Robertson. I am Nilaja's mom and the mom of Asazi as well, who's not in this podcast at the moment. So I'm a mom, right? Mm-hmm. And I too like to talk. I tell people that I'm an introvert, right? So that means that I don't want to talk about surface things shallow, all that stuff. But I do enjoy talking about things that I like to talk about.
Yeah.
So when Nilaja said, Mom, do you want to do this podcast with me? I was like, yes, sign me up, because I know we're going to talk about some things that are really interesting. What else can I say about myself? I'm a spiritual being. I'm a newly licensed practitioner through Heart and Soul Center of Light. I love Heart and Soul Center of Light. I'm a DEI person and an emerging filmmaker. So there's a lot that, I want to say about me, but I think that's important. That's the important stuff. So what made you decide to start this particular podcast?
Well, I feel like to go and first to be able to have a podcast where a mother and daughter could kind of talk and throw ideas back and forth is pretty cool. I don't really see a lot of that. But then also, I feel like this could be a door opening to different topics, different things in pop culture, different things going on with us that other people might relate to, and just being able to freely express. I feel like it would be pretty cool. So that's why I was like, Mom, let's do this. And here we are.
All right.
Here we are.
Well, I'll tell you what interested me about it.
Okay.
Is I do think when people across generations do things differently. So like a good example for me, just looking at the generations in my family, was like my mom always talks about the fact that her mom was very a disciplinarian, extra like very militant as a parent. Yeah. But when she was a grandma, I did not experience her that way. She was one of the sweetest people, Grandma Pearl. Yeah. And in like a classic moment in my history, I had gotten in trouble in school one day. I was like breaking all the rules. I came home. I got a spanking, a beating, whichever one you want to call it that day. I was in high school. And my Grandma Pearl happened to be at the house that day. And she intervened to protect me from my mom, which is like a sign to me of what I think a podcast like this is about. Is the generational shifts. Right? Like the fact that at one point, like, so a couple ways, meaning like, as I get older, I understand things differently. So you all experiencing me when I was 20 something or 30 something. I'm a different person now at 50 something.
True.
So like that, the first piece to me is like that whole evolution of me as a human that you know. But the other piece is like the wisdoms and things that I inherited from my grandmother and my mother, right? And the fact that I have something through that lived experience of being on the planet a little bit longer that I think I can offer into the space.
Yeah. See, I could talk on behalf of people my age, but see, I grew up different than a lot of the people around me. So I feel like maybe people could relate, maybe not, but just to hear about it, I feel like would be cool. Because, you know.
You grew up different? Why do you think you grew up different
than
the people around you?
A lot of the people around me are American people. I grew up, you know, Jamaican culture. We're Jamaican. All of our family is rooted in Jamaica. So I grew up with certain things people won't ever understand. Like, what can I say? Emotional awareness, cultural deficiencies, all types of stuff that other people won't get. But still, I grew up in America. Why are you laughing? I grew up in America.
Was it Jamaican people say you're Jamaican?
No, they don't. But I know what I am. Nobody gonna tell me nothing. I know what I am. So that's why when it comes down to like now, I'm not about to say my age. Y'all don't need to know that right now. But you know what I mean? Like I grew up in America, but I see myself as somebody that is always gonna go to Jamaica first. I'm never gonna, sorry, that would never come out my mouth. And I'm American. Ew.
Well, this is a cool, like, I think this is an interesting generational thing too.
Not dissing the Americans.
This is something we could explore on this podcast, is the cultural differences too. Because the reality is, as Grandma Sandra would probably remind us, she's the most Jamaican of all of us, right? Because she grew in Jamaica till she was 35, right? And then I came to the United States when I was 9 and I've had a very back and forth experience, right? Where I lived in both places. I've spent time in both places. But the truth is, Jamaican folks would say, you more Americanized.
Yeah,
right?
they would definitely say that about me.
I embrace that at some level.
Nah.
And I hold on to my Jamaicanness and my Africanness at next level. But truth be told, you were born in Jamaica.
I was about to say, let's make it crystal clear. You nor your son were born there. So I don't need to go back and forth. And that's the thing. That's on my birth certificate.
Certificates,
okay?
Yes, ma'am.
None of y'all got that. So nobody can tell me nothing.
Nobody can tell me nothing. Hey, but what I'm saying to you is, you were born in Jamaica, okay?
Right.
Like you said, my parents were students when I was born. So I was born in the United States. Moved back to Jamaica as a baby. But you were born in Jamaica, right? So I want to give you that.
Yeah.
And as a family, we talk about the family. That you were the only one. Born in Jamaica. Of the three of us. Of Nilaja, Damali, and Nilaja. You the one. But would Jamaicans call you Jamaican? No, let's just keep it 100.
I mean, hold on. I don't business.
No. But what I'm saying,
I know that's the part you're missing.
That's not the part. Listen to what I'm saying. But the thing is, right, is because you are raised in a very kind of like not only American, but by someone who has had the bridge between America and Jamaica. You were raised with a certain level of like. It's like a very like hippie. Like I don't want to call myself a hippie, but like like a very like open. Let's have feelings. Let's express our feelings. Kind of. Don't right? Which would some people say would not be a very Jamaican way. So so that's I think part of our conversation.
And you're definitely Americanized. Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Sorry.
I say it in my own work. People think American people don't think I'm American.
Right.
Jamaican people don't think I'm Jamaican enough, right?
Yes.
So the thing that I've come to love about me is the feet. My feet are planted in both spaces.
Yeah.
And I take from both spaces and gift to both spaces different elements.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally think that we don't need to have feelings and deal with trauma. I personally believe that's not gonna support us as people, as Jamaican people.
Yeah.
And the segments of the society that shut down the processing, the feeling, the being with, is a thing to look at. Why do we do that? Why are we doing that?
Mm-hmm.
What is it we're afraid of feeling? What are we afraid of feeling? What are we afraid of facing?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, a lot of that comes out of our history of enslavement. As Black people, we were not allowed to have certain feelings or to exhibit certain things a certain way because our lives would be in danger to do that. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we have some of that still in our lives as African people across the diaspora, mm-hmm. Jamaican people, because we experience them in our family, right? So I'm not generalizing. What I'm saying is the experiences we have with Jamaican family members tell this story, right?
But can I say this? I agree with what you're saying, and also we need to get out of that mindset. Like anybody in my family that does think that I'm too emotional, okay, and you see how you are, you hard as a rock, you cold inside. That don't got nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like as I get older, I realize. I've heard this many times. You can't change anybody but yourself and what you do. So that's when I decide if you're gonna always be like, oh, don't be emotional, don't cry, don't express yourself. Why am I about to be around you? I'm not about to do that. You gotta figure that out on your own. So I hear what you're saying, but I'm not about to.
But that's what I'm saying. What you're saying.
Fact.
I'm saying what you're saying. Okay. I'm not defending that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think this conversation is going to interrupt some of the generational norms. Because like you, what I'm saying, that I know departs from my family's understanding of culture and what family means within the context of the Jamaican culture. What I'm saying is, I don't have to be in relationship with anybody that is going to harm me. Mm. You just said, if you're going to not accept my emotional, the ways that you perceive as my emotional ways, then I don't need you, right? You basically said that.
Well, yeah.
I agree with you. And that departs from what our culture would generally say. African culture and Jamaican culture by extension would say, that's your mother, that's your father.
Deal with it.
You better just,
deal with it.
Love them. Mm-hmm. Have them around, have them like that. And I am not. That is not. So this is where that's part of the Americanization.
But I'm saying, if that makes me American, I'll be it. It sounds crazy, but I guess I'll be it then, because I'm telling you, what I've learned is I can't, like I said, I can't change what you're doing, but I could change how I'm moving. I could decide not to be around you if you're gonna demean me and make me feel bad about feeling, about being human and feeling. I'm not about to do that with nobody. Not mom, not dad, not grandma, not grandpa, not uncle, not aunt, not niece, no, I'm not doing it. Friend, foe, we good.
Hear that? Uncle, aunt, niece, what's that?
Niece, we gotta do it.
I understand, it's like you was issuing a look.
Making it clear. I'm not calling nobody out, but.
If people know me already, it doesn't know. That's me already all day. So, yeah. So we're going to explore all those things as a podcast. And, so here's the thing. For me, this is also about listening to the younger generation. For me,
listening. Yeah.
This is also about listening to the younger generation. Because I recognize that there's still a lot that, I've been socialized into, that I have my ideas and my ways. Like a kind of set in my ways thing. And I'm interested to hear your perspective.
Well, let's see. I'm excited to see it, Mom, and listen to you too. I feel like one thing I've always grown up knowing is, like, older people don't know everything. Like, elders don't know everything. But they do know more than I would, you know what I mean, in certain aspects. I've always been someone that's open to hearing what elders gotta say. I feel like y'all have experienced different things. You've lived longer, why not? You know? So.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Let's talk generationally too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was growing up, it was a very seen and not heard growing up. One of the stories that my cousins and I sat around laughing about, which is not actually very funny, but it is the way we grew up. My cousins we were together talking about an experience in childhood when we were about 17-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Around the table, so we're at the table as 17-ish year olds, grandma, mom, dad, right? So family thing. And one of my cousins, his grandmother said something to him. And he said to her, why, mama? And she slapped him in the face for the why. And he's not 9, he's not 10, he's 17-ish around this time, right?
Okay.
And what I'm saying is, we grew up at a time when you do not question adults. You don't even ask them why.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
That's a real thing. I grew up at a time when, thankfully, both of my grandparents' sets were receptive to conversation. So thankfully, I could ask about them, be curious about them. But there were still lines that were clear. You don't cross this line with grandma, you don't whatever, right? It's a very because you're young and she's old. She's an elder, right? It was clear. I feel like Una nowadays is on some different things sometimes. I feel like, and the thing is, right? I also don't think that the response to any young person should be a slap in the face. I don't think that we should be at a place where somebody cannot say why.
Right.
Right? So I'm not defending that. But I do think that there's a little bit of a middle ground where young people could still have a reverence for the elders.
What do you mean, the respect?
Just a natural respect for the elders because we've been here longer. What's your thought about that?
Let me tell you something. But see, don't say my generation, because I feel like I've met a lot of people in my generation that were raised the way that I was, which was respect your elders. Even if you don't agree, just have the common decency to be like, this is a person that is older than me, is experienced within their years, has that upon us, has that up. So why not give them the basic decency of respect? I'm that person. I'm not one of these young people that's just gonna be talking to people crazy, not being able to hold a conversation, things like that. Don't say my generation. I feel like it's part of my generation, but then it's also the generations after. Cause let me tell you, generations after, y'all, whichever camera I'm looking at, y'all are done. Y'all are just out. Sorry to say. I don't even know what generation that is. Is it X, Y?
I don't know.
Whatever it is, you're done. You're done. I can't. That's the ones that people got to be worried about. Because you raised us to have respect. I know to say please, thank you, yes, please, no, thank you, great, have good morning, good afternoon, good night. I'm not about to do this. The kids today will not even look you in the face.
And hold on a second.
So don't say.
Hold on a second. Just for people to know, you work with youth.
I do.
So this is why you have this perspective. Because you come face to face with the generations of today.
Whoa.
And I know you love them.
I love them.
And you love working with children. So I'm not here. Please, just know that she loves the kids.
Do I though? I guess. But I'm telling you, Mom, but I will say, Mommy, there are people in my generation that maybe they were grown a different way though, and that's where it stems from. You raised me and Asaza to come up with, like I said, morals, respect, all of that. There are people that were not raised that way. And that's where that comes from. I'm not dishing on nobody's parenting. I'm not a parent. I can't say nothing about that. But where else does it stem from other than your parents and your environment?
I did my best. Here's the thing. Plug for me. I did my best. But, you know, as a parent, you still make mistakes. You still don't get it 100% right? And the thing that I think, in addition to what your parents put in and to like your like home environment, there's this life around us, right? And like we cannot decouple the young people growing up in communities filled with violence.
That's true.
We cannot decouple the young people growing up in homes filled with violence that have intimate partner violence going on and witnessing that. We cannot decouple the young people whose parents maybe have passed away, who are really sick, right? We cannot decouple the houselessness, the young people who are living in their cars with their parents. There's a lot of stressors.
That's true.
That the young people have not eaten at night, right? Because there's this like thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where it's like a triangle, and it shows like having your essential needs met, and then like there's a whole thing that leads then for you to self-actualize and to be your best self. We cannot forget that this country in particular, but countries that have a colonial legacy like Jamaica too, have a lot of young people going through some real hardships every day.
Right.
So they cannot come to school in a place where they're fully feeling themselves.
Ready to learn.
Yeah, they're not ready because they have all of that they're carrying.
And when you address the younger generations, don't just come straight to mind. Because I know my respect, okay? One thing you gonna know from me is I'm gonna have my little respect with one and the next, okay? So, yeah. But that's a whole nother conversation. And that's something we could really dive into, I'm telling you, because I got a lot to say.
We have a lot to
about
say.
The younger, yeah.
That's why I'm here. And the truth is, just in this intro, we have a lot of things that we could explore. I love the therapy idea, like the emotional, like the piece about being emotional, and like what that means when people don't want to go there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a topic. Why don't you want to go there? Maybe y'all need some healing. I'm just saying, maybe people who don't want to deal with your emotion need some healing.
But guess what, Mother? Therapy is not the only healing.
No.
That's another thing.
Right.
But I see what you mean.
And then we could talk about the different generations. So we have lots to cover, and we will be covering all the things.
Yes.
So tune in.
Real talk.
Don't you think?
Tune
Real
in.
things across generations. Generational banter. Real talk about real things. Generational banter.